What I see a lot of when it comes to religion and especially things like Christianity is it seems like religion ends up being the final form for whores because they realize that they made a whole bunch of bad choices in their 20s, maybe even into the 30s. And then they get to a point where they want to have kids or they want the protection and provisioning that a man can provide. So they try to get right with God or Jesus and, repent. And, Jesus may forgive these hoes for their sins in their past, but I don't think that men should. Somebody's past behavior and past decisions is a very strong predictor of who they are and who they're going to continue to be in the future. In fact, there's a really fascinating study that they did on regret with men and women, and what they found was when women express regret, and they use this specifically on short-term mating strategies, so friends with benefits, hookup culture, stuff like that. They found that when women expressed specifically regret towards sleeping with a bunch of guys, it didn't change the behavior. In
Mm.
fact, what it did is it guaranteed an increase in the behavior in the future. So any of these gals that says that they've gotten right with God and their past is their past and they're no longer a party girl and they're ready to settle down and all those sorts of things, men should definitely not believe any of that nonsense. Now, if you're dealing with a woman of faith and she's young and she's been in the church and she has a good relationship with her family and her father and she doesn't have any of the red flags and she's religious, good for you, if you're of the same faith and that works for you, then maybe she's a great candidate, and you can test that out over a couple of years of dating. But I don't think that specifically seeking religious women is a good idea, because a lot of women that are in the church now that are looking for husbands or looking for a guy, whether it's marriage or not, are really bad choices. They're basically chameleons. They're wearing like a mask to try to hide who they really are, under the guise of, I look like you're part of this faith and now I'm part of this faith. So we're of the same faith. So, you can look past my past because I've gotten right with God, sort of thing. And it's like, you shouldn't believe that nonsense.
It was really interesting. My husband and I were traveling on a trip to the Dominican Republic.